More on this story, we can go across to France 24's Valerie Dekimpe standing by. Valerie, good afternoon to you. Tell us more.
Hi, Delano. So we're well into day 2 of the World Leaders Summit here at COP27, and we have seen a long list of heads of state going on stage, delivering their national statements, many of them issuing climate warnings. We've heard from the president of Comoros, who said essentially that these calls for help are far from new. He quoted an old speech made by former French President Jacques Chirac in 2002 when he famously said, "Our house is burning and we're looking elsewhere." Fast forward to 2022, many developing countries will relate to that. It's also been said here that this is an African COP and that we'll need to address the needs of the most vulnerable countries in the African continent. So I'm joined now by Seyni Nafo, spokesperson for the African Group of Negotiators at COP27. Thank you so much for being here today. First of all, what is the number one priority for Africa in these talks? We've seen loss and damage is officially on the agenda. Is that enough?
Adequacy. Number one priority is adequacy. Adequacy of action. Action on reducing emission, action on adapting to climate change, and then action on financing all of that. That's the number one priority.
But how do you think African countries will get there and achieve their goals?
Well, African countries here, and probably more here than ever, have come up with very concrete proposals, very concrete solutions on each of those tracks. The South African example, the Just Energy Transition Partnership between South Africa, G7 and the EU is one of such example of a concrete partnership where there are commitment on all sides, commitment to support, commitment to act. Other African initiatives on agriculture, on adaptation to climate change have a similar approach. Clear plans, clear action, which comes with clear expected results and a commitment to support them.
So you say African countries are doing their part. Are developed countries, rich countries doing their part?
Not enough. Not enough. Definitely not enough, even in terms of implementing the commitments which were made. And I'm talking about commitments which were made in Glasgow. And I don't want to name any names, but do the homework. Many of the financial commitments which were taken in Glasgow have yet to be fulfilled. And that creates a sense of distrust. It creates a sense of at least a gap between what is said and what is done. And it's not a problem of finance. It's not a problem of lack of resources. We have seen both in the crisis of the pandemic and unfortunately in the situation in Ukraine, amounts of resources which were astronomical. So when there's crisis, when there's a political will, finance is made available. So I think we need to be as serious for climate change and do the same thing.
Very quickly, over the last 30 years, developed and developing countries have been negotiating, and you get the sense that rich countries always have the upper hand. How do you restore that imbalance?
Well, it has definitely been. I mean, to some kind, it's a more playing field level. I mean, we've levelized the playing field for one reason. More developing countries are on top of the negotiation agenda. That's for one. I mean, if you look at the teams of negotiators from developing countries, they're more diverse. You have all kind of expertise now on most developing countries' team. That's for one. Second is political involvement. At the beginning, this used to be an extremely technical negotiation. You have more ministers, more heads of states, especially from the continent and even from islands. You have many heads of states now who are on top of the negotiation agenda for the issues which are critical to them, whether just energy transition, whether on loss and damage, on finance. So that's extremely important because you have now heads of states and government who can speak to their priorities in a very articulated and strong manner. That is totally new. And of course, in the last 30 years, many developing countries have reached a level where financially they're in a better situation, or even from a development perspective. But technology and cheap finance is rather still in the north. So we need more partnership, definitely more partnership.
Seyni Nafo, spokesperson for the African Group of Negotiators. Thank you very much for this interview. We'll be following all the latest developments and bringing you more analysis with interviews.
Camp reporting there from Sharm el Sheikh, Egypt.